Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Timeless Podcast. Alex here, along with Beef, for episode 69 of the
Hello.
Timeless Podcast. The number that for some reason Connor was very excited about, but now it's just turned into a Suicide Squad
Hey.
podcast. So, yeah, he was like, "What are you doing for episode 69?" And he wanted, I don't know whether you remember Beef, but he recorded, because he was like, "Well, we should do a cover of Doctor Distress." It was sort of, he was really game for it. We were sort of in the middle. He recorded like a demo version, except instead of just singing it, he did impressions of everyone in the song. So his voice would keep changing.
It was certainly a unique performance.
Connor Allen's one-man
I,
show.
I, 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 I don't know why. I don't know what I can relate it to. It's if you were being held as a prisoner and being tortured for information, that would probably be how they'd do it.
Yeah, no, totally. I agree. How are you though, mate? Obviously, it wasn't that long ago you were on the show. I think it must have been a month ago now, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I forget what day it is. It's Tuesday where I am. When they'll be listening to this, it'll be probably a Monday or something. So yeah,
it could be out. It could be at any point.
It could be any day of the week. My perception of time is often skewed, and there's gaps. So
you need one of those River Song diaries where you just write.
Well, yeah, that's it. Yeah, there was something about that, and I said it would help with certain things, but then I'll probably just forget to write it down anyway. So yeah, or I'd lose it.
You need like a notebook handler that writes all your shit down for you.
When it comes to the autobiography, yeah, that's it. I'll need someone reasonably good to just like make up some really funny crap that might have happened in the middle that I just have no recollection of.
What would you name your autobiography?
One More Round.
That sums up pretty well, actually. Speaking of booze and stuff, Beef said,
yeah, I mean, it would sound like it would sound like a sports autobiography, but would have nothing to do with sport whatsoever.
You ever good at sports in school, Beef, or was it just not your forte?
I played a bit of rugby and I did a little bit of weightlifting, which people may have seen on the Olympics. Well, not me actually at the Olympics, but they may have seen the sport being undertaken at the Olympics. And yeah,
they were so short-staffed for the Olympics; they had to draft Beef in.
Yeah, that's it. Always happy to fill a gap.
You're pretty quick. Oh God. So the dog, by the way, she's having a nightmare. But it took me like a few seconds to get what you. This is the issue of being back at home, and the dog just kicks off. So yeah, it's fun. I'll be back in Cardiff soon, though. So everything will be calm. I say calm. I'm living with Connor, so who knows what you could hear in the background. But
as long as it's not the singing.
As long as, yeah. Yeah, that's the issue though, because I'm in the room next to him, so I really hope I don't hear him singing in the shower, because I guarantee he's one of the people that does that. So hopefully the shower is loud enough that it mutes his tone.
Oh no, I'm sure it'll have perfect acoustics.
Yeah, I'll have to ask Connor if he sings "Doctor in Distress" in the shower. With the voices.
He does. If he probably did, well, yeah. If he did it with the voices, they'd probably call an exorcist as opposed to actually some form of service.
Oh God! Anyway, obviously today, as you can see by the title, we're going to be talking about Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad, sorry, not Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad, James Gunn's Suicide Squad 2021. Already a sequel in the works by the looks of things, which is interesting. Based on comments from James Gunn. But yeah, before that though, obviously this week has also been Web of Fear week. Twitter's been in meltdown. I'm going to be honest, Beef, you're always one of my favourites to come to whenever Twitter's in the meltdown, because you're like, to put it in a sense, you're like the Watcher from the recent What If series. You watch over things, but you don't interfere.
Yeah, I haven't got a mountain that I sit on and everything like that, but I just sort of like, put up a nice easy chair, put my feet up, and just
watch the destruction.
Yeah, watch that, and yeah, there's. I've heard people who have different feelings on it. So no one's. I'm not going to say anyone's right or anyone's wrong, because that's not fair. Because everyone, in this day and age, should be entitled to their opinion. But obviously, there's a lot of voices are saying, the 3D and the modelling really is off. The move. I think that what's the struggles for me looking at it is the movements just look wholly unnatural.
Yeah,
and perhaps just like going for the more traditional 2D that they've done with all the previous ones would have been better.
The more simple they keep it, I think the better. Because, like, for example, it's not even characters in the foreground; there's characters in the background that are just bizarre. Because obviously they just bobble a little bit, or they just stand there looking square into space, and it's like.
Oh yeah, there are looks in the eyes of the figures that will cut through your soul and torture you while you sleep.
Yeah, literally, mate.
Probably the 1,000-yard stare of some of them will be more frightening than the Yetis. I think it would be better. I think it's better served watching in black and white, personally, than color, because then it maintains the atmosphere as much as it can do from watching the other episodes.
I agree. I fully agree. I do think as well. But the thing is, I'm happy that they did it with this release at Web of Fear, which has already been available, obviously, with the Telestats originally. And I'm glad I didn't rush a full story out on this one, and that would be the only way of watching it. You know what I mean?
So it wouldn't surprise me though if in about 3 or 4 years you'll get a special edition like you got with Power of the Daleks, and
upskirt.
They'll go back and sort of smooth off some edges and flatten out some bulges where bulges shouldn't be.
Professor Travers, he's packing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said for keeping it simple. The other ones, the Macro Terror is obviously very complex, but if you think about, someone's killing something already. Oh, well, that's nice. The Macro Terror.
Is that the cat?
Yeah, it probably is. I'll kill it later. Is the macro terror took a hokey creature and through this glory of the animation made it a lot more content filled. Even if you go back to sort of the old Moonbase animation, that was relatively basic and relatively simple. I think you could have had something like that with Web, and it would have perhaps made the reception a bit more balanced. But I think there's a lot of people that's just like, I think it has been a rush on whatever you say, whether it's time, budget, and probably a combination of both is what they've got. They like to try something new. It hasn't worked in this case. Thankfully, it's one episode and they haven't shelled out for a whole serial. I haven't got it yet, so I don't know the extras. Apologies on that. But I suppose that when you're saying the Twitter furore about it, while everyone has sort of moaned about it, or a large amount of people have moaned about it, they've done it with good humour. That much I would say. Yeah. I've not seen anyone go out there and go, "Oh, do you know what? This is the biggest pile of dog crap that I've seen. Why I've just wasted my money? Why the hell have I bought it? I'm taking it back to the shop. This is an insult to the memory of Patrick Troughton." There's fortunately been none of that. It's all been quite good natured and quite good humoured, and like I say, I think it's something they'll fix down the road.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like the thing is, the one thing I do sort of find funny is obviously on the DVD extras, they're like really pushing this is the future animations, and based on the reception, no, I don't think we're going to be. I think, especially like you said, for a few years, we're not going to see anything like this until they can get it right. And I would like everything to stick 2D, so there's a sort of flow with them. I think it would work. The
2D stuff is evolving and improving all the time anyway. With the technology is sort of catching up, because like there were even aspects of the faceless ones where some of the animation was just a little bit cringy at points. But it's all going to go, and everything else has sort of been of the time. The animation style would have been what you would have perhaps seen at that period in time when the episode came out. So I think for me, having the motion capture was a little bit jarring anyway. But it is what it is. That you can't undo it, you can't change it. So just either watch it or don't watch it. You've always got your telly snaps to fall back on, or if a certain gentleman who's reasonably well known on Twitter just decides to sort of have a scrape around in the back of the cupboard, maybe we'll get it in a few years' time once money changes hands.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. I'm in agreement with you there, Beef. I think Twitter is one of those things where people just overreact anyway, whether positive or negative. We've seen that with the Jodie Whittaker era.
Yeah, there's been a lot of overly horrible negative stuff that went out this week. Yeah,
there's been some. I don't know. There's been some racism and death threats towards some people in the community.
There's never any praise for that.
Absolutely not. And especially because I don't know too much about it, but I know it's the DW 2012 fan film got like Dominic and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and obviously it's been directed at the Community show, which is a Doctor Who guy who's just started up doing this quite recently. He's part of the TikTok Whovians, who I know some of the members of on Facebook. So yeah, it's doing if people are creating something positive and they're doing it off their own back, they're doing it for their own enjoyment, for other people that will enjoy it. And if you don't like it, then don't watch it. Yeah. It's not like it's the main show. It's just like a bit of fun for fans. They're not doing it for profit or making anything out of it.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where it's being a prick for prick's sake. I can't imagine anybody actually watching. I can't imagine people even. I don't know, but I can't imagine the people that even sent the threats to even watch the film. I guarantee they've just gone in the comments, and just decided to be a twat.
We got 5 minutes into it, wasn't for them, and thought, oh, do you know what? Yeah, let's just do this. But why are you going to, DEFCON 4 from?
Yeah.
Just seeing something like that just serves no purpose, apart from just making you look like a thoroughly unpleasant person. And I believe they're reporting it through the right channels, and I think that's the best way to address it. If you give it too much attention, you're giving too much praise to the people who just aren't worth bothering with.
Yeah, you're giving them what they want, isn't it? And that's just not really,
Yeah.
So this could just do. I'm happy also as well when these things happen that the community sort of bands together and sort of, tells people that do that to go do one, because it shows there are some nice people out there in the
people are inherently all right. It's just when they get on Twitter, they just get a little bit carried away, a little bit silly, which we all prone to do sometimes. But guaranteed, if you met the people face to face, they either wouldn't say boo to a goose, or they'd just they'd actually be quite pleasant. But yeah, it's the old keyboard warrior mentality.
Absolutely. I also want to say, speaking of animation as well, I have to give credit to the Dalek animations. I've not seen too much of it myself. I've seen a few clips and stuff, but those guys doing that is sick. I think we also mentioned as well that those guys need, I don't know how it works, but they need to get on tap, because clearly they know what they're doing.
That's it. I think it's taken them, I think they said 18 months to 2 years to do it. I'm not quite sure how many bits there are in total, parts are in total. I think it's probably about 6. And I think they've put out either 3 or 4 by the time this will have gone out. And yeah, it's thoroughly good. It really is. And I see a future for them somewhere within the industry. If they don't just carry on doing their own stuff, some clever one's gonna say, would you be interested in perhaps helping out with something? Or yeah, that invariably, especially in how the show came back, it was all based on the fans and going back to the DW 2012 stuff. The show was brought back by fans who did their own stuff after the show was off air. So when you think about these people and you lambast them, these are the people who potentially could be running the show through the sheer strength of their passion. So, you do it at your peril, because you risk losing the thing that you profess to love by being like that.
Exactly. And like I said, I think people on Twitter are typed anyway. I think like I said, like I've always said, like you've said as well, being critical is fine. It's how you do it. If you just say that I don't like this is why. Nothing against you. It's just the art. Just the piece
Sometimes
of art.
It's best to just say nothing at all. It's like the thing your parents used to say: if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. What difference will it make? So yeah,
exactly.
Shut up.
Shut up. Be happy. Stop going on Twitter. Go outside. You can go outside now. The world is open. Go get an ice cream or something. Summer's almost over. Go grab one.
Yeah, I think an ice cream's a great thing. Yeah, get 2 flakes, spoil yourself.
Maybe some sprinkles as well, but don't go too far. Anyway, are you ready
Crushed nuts? No, sir.
also one of the quotes on your autobiography.
Yeah.
Anyway, you already talk about people's head exploding and people getting violently murdered in the name of saving America.
No, we've already done Twitter. Let's talk about the Suicide Squad.
Yes, the Suicide Squad, which was released on the 30th of July this year, directed and written by James Gunn, and stars a bunch of people. I'll rattle off a few names: John Cena, Margot Robbie, Idris Elba, Sylvester Stallone, David Desmalchian, and so many more. Peter Capaldi as well. There you go, Viola Davis. So many people in this film. And essentially, I'll let Beef explain the basic plot. It's not very basic, it is, but it's. How would you explain it, Beef?
Supervillains locked in prison are offered a reduction in their sentence to go on a black ops mission of which everything is denied. Yeah, you succeed, well done you. You don't, or you disobey orders, you're at, yeah. Thank you very much, and good night, Vienna. Yeah.
Absolutely. And obviously, I think this is obviously a sequel, but a reboot to the 2016
it's a sort of soft reboot, but still a continuation of the first one.
Yeah.
So there's no disrespect paid to the first one.
Absolutely. But Beef, honestly, going into this one, I mean, I know me and yourself are excited because it's James Gunn, and James Gunn has a very good track record of, telling anything pretty good. I'm even a fan of the Scooby-Doo films which he had written, but that just comes of my age and the time that I was a child.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with Scooby-Doo, man.
No, they're good films, man. Good films. Those.
Well, I think what it is it's like, obviously there was a certain amount of controversy surrounding him and everything like that, but he was a director that has metaphorically crossed the street. Do you know what I mean? He's gone from Marvel to go do a DC film, even though he's still doing another Marvel film.
Yeah. Because my friend also, who was like, when we were talking a couple of days ago, who was like, when he got fired, had they not seen the film Super, which is because he got taken down for offensive tweets. That film is offensive as crap. Like they knew what his humor was like. It was only when he got called out on it, they were like, "Oh no, bye-bye." And DC were like, "It's not really that bad. He seems to know what's right and wrong these days." Yoink.
But yeah, money's king, and DC needs something to sort of, give them a bit of cash coming in, and I don't know how well this is performing in the box office.
Not very well.
I imagine because it's like HBO Max and everything like that, it sort of falls foul to the privateers of the internet, making it available for free to certain aspects of people. So that's probably why it's suffering. Yeah, but I suppose most big budget films do to a certain degree this day, but because of HBO Max, that's why straight away, bang, it's out online.
Yeah.
But I mean, you've already had directors do both, because you had Josh Whedon, who did Avengers, get pulled over to fix Justice League, and having seen the side,
ruined it, and now is cancelled. Thank God.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we're not going to be getting that reboot of Firefly that was originally penned for Disney Plus, but oh well. But
you know what you're going to get in with James Gunn. James Gunn did a group movie for Marvel, made it a very stylistic type thing that proved popular with everyone. And if you're going to do something with the Suicide Squad where you can have there's a hell of a big catalogue of characters you can have, and you can make it as nuts as you want. And what they've done with this, which they needed to do, is make it an adult movie, which they did. You can't find anyone who's got such a proven track record of doing it. So they made a very smart move in getting him.
Yeah, absolutely. And also I think as well, here's a funny story. When they DC already brought in when they brought in James Gunn, they were like, "I'll do a Superman film. When did you do a Superman film? And he was like, "No, I don't want to do a Superman film." So he was like, "I'll do a Suicide Squad film," and they were like, "Yeah, all right." And he essentially said, "Look, you can give me a couple of characters you want me to put in, but apart from that, I get to call the shots. I get to put in these characters." And that's exactly what he's done, because he's gone for so many characters that you just wouldn't think would ever appear in a film. Polka Dot Man, Javelin, even Bloodsport, Peacemaker, who hasn't been seen in comics since the 80s. Like, you know what I mean? And I think as well, it's
Weasel, Savant, Calendar
Man. Yeah, Calendar Man makes an appearance. Good old Sean Gunn.
So yeah, there's a lot of surprises there that I didn't expect to show up inside as characters that would be.
Absolutely. And I mean, what are your overall thoughts on the film, Beef? Like, just in general, what after you saw this the first time, you were what was your reaction after watching it?
No, I enjoyed it. It met my expectations. I enjoyed it. There are some people who, like, I think with some films, just say, "Oh my god, it's insane! It's crazy! It's the best thing I've ever seen." I did really enjoy it. I think it could have been slightly better, but I would guess a certain amount of that is down to the constraints of whatever the studio would say.
I'm on a similar level with you with this one, because I think, in terms of what James Gunn set out to do and what the film is trying to be, which is a fun superhero film, which for core superhero fans who just want to watch like a bloodbath, I think it achieves that, and I think it's really cool. It's not trying to be like a Dark Knight, which is legitimately not only a good superhero film but a great film. It's just trying to be a fun, campy superhero film for
yeah, that's it. We've had a lot of superhero films where people have got dead families or a grisly backstory and a hard edge, and they're got all sorts of issues and everything like that. And sometimes you don't need that. Case in point, you look at the original Superman movie, and that's why that stands up as a classic, because there doesn't need to be this this problem that they have that they can't resolve. You can still have a fun film without having this tragic thing that's happened to them that drives them forward.
Yep. No, I agree with you, and I think it's a brilliant thing, because it's a film where you start off not caring about anyone really, and you start caring for characters towards. I mean, I want to say as well, I think this is the first film in about, I hate to be mean to the guy, I think he is a class actor, but it's the first time in a few years that I've actually liked Idris Elba in a film. I don't think he really fit into Hobbs and Shaw that well. I think he was slightly miscast in that one, but that's just me.
I think Idris Elba is like one of those actors where you just him as an actual person becomes a large part of what you're looking at on screen. So you're seeing Idris Elba as someone, but at the end of the day, it's Idris Elba.
Yeah. Again, I think this film has some very creative stuff. I'm a big fan of the subtitles that keep popping up at random points. I think that's really cool. I think it's quite fun.
Yeah, the transition cards, I think, blend in well with it. I really do. Yeah.
My favorite is the really comic book one at the end where it's like Suicide Squad versus Starro, the Conqueror. That's cool. Things like that. I think he knew exactly who was going to go watch this film, and he catered to them entirely. It is a DCEU film without feeling the restraints of a DCEU film, and I think that's perfect.
Yeah, that's it. And we've had with it's fallen foul to the end thing being a massive flying circle of. A massive thing in the sky and a halo of trash floating around it. So it made a nice change to have a giant kaiju at the end. Yeah, knowing the comic books as I did, the last thing I expected them to ever put in a film was Starro. I just thought that was completely batshit, to be honest with you, and fantastic to see. It was really well realised. I didn't expect them to sort of make that look as it did. A giant starfish is camp, but to have it take over the people of Corto Maltese like it did, it really worked. It made it a viable, in battle, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Boss battle.
And also, they made you sort of care for a giant starfish because technically at the beginning of the film, Starro's done nothing wrong. He's been captivated and tortured and all that, and now he just wants to get his own back. And again, I've skipped to the end of the movie here, but his last words you kind of hear through the host is, "I was happy looking up at the stars." And it's like, oh, you sort of feel like he didn't want to be in this position. Yeah, he feels like the world's against him because it is. And you see that clip of him just enjoying himself out in space. American astronauts capture him and like have selfies with him and stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, you about to die. But overall, no, I think it's really cool. Let's talk about that opening sequence, shall we? So you have Savant, who essentially is our eyes that we see this first mission through. Savant, Javelin, Weasel, Harley Quinn, Rick Flag, TDK, Boomerang, Captain Boomerang. What's Pete Davidson? Blackguard, Mongal. Is that everyone?
Yeah, it's a real bait and switch, to be honest with you, isn't it?
Yeah, especially in the eyes of like Captain Boomerang, who obviously was in the previous film. You're like, they're not just going to bring him back just to.
Yeah, when you first meet that crew, you think, well, okay, there's new ones, but you've got returning ones. You've got Rick Flag, you've got Harley pop up, and then you've got Captain Boomerang. So you think, okay, well, this is what we're set with. This is our roster for this film, because it's selling you on that because they're the ones that you saw in the last film. So you think, okay, well, that's it. And then obviously, I think, we should warn herein lie spoilers, which we should
spoilers for this film,
which is what we probably should have done before we said Starro.
However, he was in a trailer, so I don't feel too bad.
That's all right then. Yeah.
But
yeah, that's it. Just having them just like full on massacred within the first 10 minutes, I suppose.
And boy, is it gory. I mean, literally, the first one is. So essentially, it's the same concept. You get Amanda Waller, go through all the stuff. If you get a bomb put in your neck, if you like Beef said, if you complete the mission, you get 10 years of sentence. If you don't, die. And then essentially, they go to this island in Corto Maltese, and it turns out Blackguard has sold the crew out to I suppose the evil crew in
Corto Maltesians. Yes.
And he gets his face blown off very quickly, and it's not like it cuts away. You just see his face.
Yeah, they're not afraid of showing death and destruction and evisceration on a high scale.
Nope. And then I think the next to go is Mongal, followed by Captain Boomerang, followed by TDK, who has a pretty funny death, to be honest.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you have like the initial bit on the plane going over there anyway, where you're trying to establish your characters. You've got one of my faves, Lula Borges Javelin, with his accent.
All Americans love accents.
You sense the distrust and everything like that. And it starts off, as you expect with James Gunn being a bit of a jukebox movie as well, because there's a lot of music cue references in the background and everything like that. So you don't know anything about the characters. So the TDK reference is quite good because these villains sort of know something of each other, but until they're actually out there and their sort of powers are revealed, be they great or be they in TDK, the detachable kids essence, bloody awful. It's just like I do love Harley's. What the fuck? And she's just saying him, and he just literally, I don't know how, but he just pats them. He can't like hit them hard. He's just like he's in essence an Action Man doll where you just pop the arms off. Yeah,
and then you just see the arms get shot, and he's on the floor, rivaling in pain. I think the one that gets the most brutal death there has got to be Captain Poor or Captain Boomerang. You get Mongal, who goes, as she calls it, the flying bird, jumps on the bottom of the helicopter. It swings into a tree. The shrapnel from the tree go inside Captain Boomerang's chest, and then he gets absolutely taken out by the helicopter.
Yeah, I did feel bad for that because I didn't actually mind Captain Boomerang. That was one of the takeaways from the first film, is I didn't mind Captain Boomerang.
Yes. Also, Beef mid podcast got some lovely grub as well. So I don't even get that. It's just paid for the guests. It's not me. I don't get that here at the Thomas podcast. The guests do that. Obviously, the Beef. Again, we go from essentially that, and that's when we get our really cool first use of the titles, because you get the Warner Brothers logo. Warner Brothers presents in bathed in Savant's blood. I also really love the gag of you literally get the first death or supposed death because they didn't check if the weasel could swim. And
I get that as well, because I suppose it's a government agency. Bureaucracy is like high on the list, but like thinking about the basics.
But it turns out that this crew was all a ruse, and there was a second team on the other side.
It was a smoke screen, and Amanda Waller did it in the full knowledge that they were all going to get absolutely massacred.
Yeah, unfortunately, Javelin also dies as well, and he tells Harley, "You're the only one good enough to wield my javelin. Carry it for," and then he dies, and she has this really thing where she keeps slapping in the face, and she doesn't understand. Yeah. I also think as well, there's a really cool interaction. Also, it's nice to see, as you're a big fan of Flu, like you said, he gets a few lines there. He probably gets the most of those characters.
That crew. Yeah, I think that's it. There's a stable of people as well who James Gunn likes to use anyway. So Michael Rooker is
Sean Gunn.
Yeah. So yeah, that was good to see, to be honest with you. But yeah. The one thing this film, I think, started off to do really well was, it didn't fall down the hole of, it's going to take us a long time to establish it. They did all the setup of basically what the purpose of the squad is in a very short amount of time. So then, by the time these guys were just like massacred, for want of a better term, you knew what the deal was with Crew 2, and you knew that. By the time Savant gets his head taken out, because he's a master tactician, looks at it, thinks, "What the hell have I been signed up for?" And he just like cries like a baby and goes off. You find out that Wallace just takes no prisoners. She's only in it for herself and what she can get out of it, and she's not prepared to let anyone stand in her way. She's ruthless and cold.
Exactly, and you get that immediately when you get the Bloodsport sort of back. I don't say backstory because it's not. You get like a flashback to when she's setting up Squad B, and Bloodsport's just not interested. He's just there to will out his sentence, and it turns out that she's going to send his 16-year-old daughter to prison.
But also it plays on the comic book trope of his father was a mercenary. He's been trained to kill since any time he was born, and everyone's got also pokes fun at the comic book concept that everyone's got a backstory, and a lot of them, when you just look at it, are pretty much similar. So then you think backstory really isn't important.
Because obviously as well, it's like, I think it's a running joke of everyone on the Suicide Squad is there for their own unique capabilities. And then the first person that she introduced Bloodsport to was Peacemaker, who has had the exact same background as Bloodsport. Exactly. And he's like, "You said everyone was here for their own unique..." She does the exact same fucking thing as me. And he's like, "Yeah, but I do it better." And then obviously that's a really cool thing at the end with the bullets.
It sets up a great rivalry, a great comedic rivalry, because that's one thing John Cena's established himself as being able to do really well in comedy films over the last few years, is that whatever line he can deliver, he will deliver it as it's the most earnest thing that he believes, even if it's the most ridiculous thing he's saying.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's his earnest quality that just makes him seem like the biggest Boy Scout going, but also the biggest douche going, because it's just so cringeworthy.
Exactly. And then obviously I think next we meet Nanawe, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, King Shark, which in this film is a bit different to what I believe to be the kind of origin of King Shark, because in this film he is just a shark god thing. Whereas in the Flash, which I knew him, it was a man that then got turned into King Shark via the particle accelerator explosion, and then became a metahuman. So in this, it's a bit different. I assume this is the comic book thing. Yeah. I don't know. But either way, I think Sylvester Stallone here. And again, this is something that, again, going back to those James Gunn isms, he's very good at making you care for characters that don't say very much. He's someone who...
I think, that's it. They set him up as this sort of...
brute.
A figure of fun that you sort of tolerate and everything like that. But by the end of it, you end up having affectionate feelings for.
All I'll say is that scene where he thinks he's found his friends and then heartbreaking, like legitimately heartbreaking. Like because that's what I've said as well. The animation for him in this film is right, especially in that scene where they're outside by the campfire, where you see the reflection of his, scales or whatever you call it on the shark. Look great. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, you could have done it and it could have looked really pants and really crap, to be honest with you. And they've sort of made it sufficiently believable that it's, as much as you can, an oversized shark that talks.
Yeah. And then next we meet Ratcatcher 2. Obviously, Ratcatcher 1 is dead. I love the line, what we couldn't afford, Ratcatcher 1, sort of a meta joke there from Peacemaker. Obviously, Ratcatcher 1 in this film, played by Mr. Taika Waititi, in a nice little cameo towards the... Sort of spoiled though by the credits at the start because it says Taika Waititi's name in it. They didn't really need to, but I digress. And then obviously last week, not this week, David Despelchi and Polka Dot Man, who is obviously like kind of the joke of the group. Everyone,
who, as you know, when we did the review of Ant-Man, we spoke about how much we like David Dastmalchian, and David Dastmalchian is quality in anything that he does.
Yeah, I hope he comes back for Ant-Man 3 as well.
I've no doubt about it. Especially if they don't do a spin-off series with the hoods out that film. But everyone on paper is, in theory, a character that you shouldn't like or have no attachment to. Yeah, they're all sort of, especially as they're all supposed to be villains. They're all supposed to be criminals. So
yeah, and again, I think this film they go for a different direction where it's sort of the only characters in that group that are just like the actual douchebags are Bloodsport and Peacemaker. The other three are sort of just
they're the two dominant personalities, and they're both the most unlikable characters when you meet them. And
yeah. And you get that really interesting scene with Bloodsport's daughter as well just before this, where she's stolen something, like an Apple Watch essentially, but they couldn't get the branding. And then essentially instead of Bloodsport being the father, it's like, no, you should steal. He was like, oh, you didn't do it properly. You're a waste of space. And they get, and it turns out that, obviously she was an unwanted child and Bloodsport's been a bit.
Everything's set up for you to just not like it.
Yeah. And then over the course of the film, you slowly begin to become endeared to him. And but immediately one thing like gone.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, because without obviously just like sitting here and retelling the whole film, which is easy to do, but it's sort of But once you get there and you've got rid of that outside influence, then you're just left with the characters.
Absolutely, and like immediately you get that back and forth with the stuff on the beach between them with the campfire. My favorite line is specifically when Bloodsport tells Peacemaker to go eat a bag of dicks, and he said, if there was a bunch of bag of dicks on this beach, I'd do it for liberty. I'd eat every single one of those dicks. And then you get the back and forth.
Yeah, delivered with like complete seriousness, and if you believe that's what he would do, because but then it's sort of like it's balancing the light and dark, because he says, if I had to kill women and children for the sake of freedom, if I had to eat a whole bag of dicks, that's what I'd do. And there's no lengths to what I would do to preserve peace. So you get an idea of like one kills for money, one kills for peace. They're different.
Nothing like a bloodbath to start the day.
Yeah, they're both different sides of the same coin, and you do get the idea that he's just like this. This Boy Scout when he shows up in the middle of the night when they're disturbed, when King Shark goes to eat Ratcatcher, and he's just standing there, just in his pants.
Tiny whities. That's racist.
Yes.
But also as well, you get some really funny moments again where Bloodsport is afraid of the rats that Ratcatcher does. The
setups are really well done because
I also
they blend in as part of the story. That this is like it's a crew that's been put together. You're not a leader. He says, I don't want to be a leader, but by the end of it, he ends up being a leader. So all the setups are put in there. There's not too much time wasted.
No, you're into the story and the plot.
Really fast.
The story and the plot is literally engaged in the first 25 minutes. And again, I think as well. So what the best setup for me in this film of the first 12 months is for King Shark. I think that scene where it's like King Shark have no friends, and it's like they obviously don't trust him. They think that he's just going to backstab him, but actually he doesn't. All he wants is friends, and that's a recurring theme throughout. Like when you see him on the bus when they go through the town, obviously he can't go outside because they can't show up a fucking shark man. He's looking at awe of just people having fun.
They sound amazing pathos with him that he's just basically lonely.
Yeah. And he's again, it comes to the animation, which I can't really do because I think the one thing that King Shark has over Groot is he can be a lot more expressive in the looks and the visuals. And like that scene where he's got is like, he's pressed up against the fish tank and his face lights up and he thinks he's got friends. And again, Stallone's vocal performance is really good and it's childlike.
Yeah, I mean he's channeling Iron Giant and Vin Diesel. But that's the thing. The good thing about this film is that you do have the light and the shade. You think Weasel's a fantastically funny comic character, but he said, "Oh, by the way, he did kill 15 children." There's always something that undercuts the humor. So up until the point near the end where you see King Shark and you get this idea that he's an outsider. A loner, no friends. He's a comedy figure. But then you have the bit where they're storming Jotunheim or whatever it is they call it.
Yeah,
Jotunheim, and you see him pick up that soldier and literally rip him in half. Yeah. And it's just like, oh shit, this guy's a badass.
Yeah, it's like exactly. I think that's what James Gunn's really good at because he understands.
Because it would have been easy for him to go yum, chomp, chomp all the way through it, which pretty much is what you had up until that point.
It sounds bizarre when we talk about a shark, but he understands people and he understands that. Because one thing in superhero, you normally get superheroes that are just perfect. He understands that even superheroes or anyone just aren't bad people. People are complex there, and that's what makes his characters a lot more endearing than perhaps another director. I can't come to a name right now, but like. Even for example, to go to Guardians of the Galaxy, Star-Lord is not a perfect character. He's a bit of a twat, but he's also a man that's gone through a bunch of shit, and he's trying to live his best life. And he's trying to adapt to the really rough conditions he had to grow up with. He's so good at making characters feel like they're real and that they could. And I'm talking about a shark right now, but it's like you kind of want to give. I wouldn't go anywhere near him, but you kind of want to give.
You don't need to stop the plot to have a backstory dump.
No, it doesn't happen. The only time it's
all sort of very like matter of fact. It's like, look, we're not going to give you like this whole long protracted stuff and everything like that. It's just when I know what you're going to talk about when they're traveling on the bus.
I was going to say real quick. Another one of this, just the only info that you sort of get because it sort of needs to be explained is the one for Polka Dot Man and how he got his polka dot powers because he's really the only sort of meta human. The rest of them are just sort of very skilled. And the King Shark one, they sort of get away with just the one sentence of they believe he was a descendant of a shark god, and that's sort of all you need.
Yeah, well, in essence, there's very little that you know about Polka Dot Man, except that he's exhibiting these strange Technicolor boils all over his face, disappears in a bush, and like there's a bright flash of light, then comes back and he's normal. So you don't know much about him until later. But
exactly.
His low key manic depression is also one of my favorite things to it as well.
We're all gonna die. I hope so. One thing that doesn't work for me, I don't know about you. I think it's just a joke that I don't think works that well. Is that everyone is his mother? I think it's
that.
I think it's funny the first time. I think maybe they go to the well one too many times. Maybe I don't know. I think it's a great concept that he's.
I think it's the thing that drives him, and it's the thing that dogs him. So it's So when you get, and I think with his character, when you get it to the end, it's sort of, I'm a superhero. I've defeated the thing that has been holding me back all this time, and stopping it. When he takes down Starro, looking like a giant version of his mum, is fantastic. The stuff in the nightclub and everything like that, I think it's fucking banging. Excuse language, I really think it's banging.
Love you said excuse the language, mate. Look, it's fine. Yeah. This is an X-rated film. You can sort of swear how much you like on this one.
But I would, I just love the moments from him that are very sort of played down. I think one of the set pieces, because we're getting sort of like tied up into little bits, is like the set pieces are done extremely well. You've got two characters who are like, the same thing, and they say, well, you're going to have to go into this village to rescue Rick Flag. Kill anyone you've seen.
That is the best action sequence of the film for me. I think it's got the best power. Well, hang on, I need to ask. I just saw you have some. I'm going to assume it was McDonald's, and now you pulled a pizza slice. What's going on here? How much food did you get? I need to ask the question. Did you get multiple takeaways at once? Like, did you order?
It's a treat day, so we've sort of shared things amongst the family.
But wait, so you got McDonald's and you've also got some pizzas?
Not excessive, but yeah.
I'm not hating. I'm just jealous. That's all. But yeah, no, I think that's really good. Again, it shows off everyone's powers set quite well. You see King Shark literally nom someone in the first few seconds.
Yeah.
You see Polka Dot Man blow people up with his polka dot, and then you see essentially just a battle of kills between.
It's one-upmanship.
Bloodsport and Peacemaker. My particular favorite is when not only does Peacemaker shoot the guy with his cock out, but then Bloodsport retorts by shooting a fan, which then goes on somebody's cock and it like electrocutes him to death. I also have to give a golden star to the what is it, the implosion bullet thing. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's it, because while it's like again, it's something that you shouldn't enjoy, which is people being killed mercilessly. It's done so comedically well that it's just like, well, I can one up you, because in essence we're the same, but I can one up you and I can do this. And they're like, I think this is the bit at the start where he like flips him the bird, and then the other one like sort of does the jacking off motion towards him and everything like that. It's like it takes it down to like a childish rival.
And then it has, and I still love the line, no likes to show off, and then obviously Peacemaker retorts with only when it's dope as fuck, and he turns out and goes fuck. And then obviously I love the payoff to this as well, where it's like, Rick, why are you drinking tea? Oh, this is this person. She's the leader of the resistance. Yeah. And then she's like, why didn't my people tell us of your arrival? I didn't see any people. When the polka dot man goes, I imagine them as my mother, and I killed them.
Yeah, that's it, and that's why I love him. That he has no social awareness, and he just lives in this state of constant misery. But he accepts that this is his lot in life, that he's forever bound to be miserable. So he's just waiting for his eventual death, and there can never be anything better for him.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those, exactly. And this is sort of where the film kind of trades off in two places, because Harley Quinn got captured on the first mission, so you sort of catch up with her for a bit now. Yeah. And she essentially is how we view the villain in this, the evil Quarter Maltesians. She's kind of there, she's held hostage. And we get this really kind of cheesy love sequence.
Yeah, that's it. This is the only thing that sort of like is a little bit of a. While I love this section because it's the great, I think the best way to have seen Harley Quinn on screen, because they've done her in a way in the action that she does. It's like. Not all like, oh, here's a gag, here's a gag, here's a gag. She doesn't really say much, to be honest with you. But and a lot of it, she's like very cold, detached, and determined. So it's great to see that aspect of the character done really well.
Yeah, I think this is the best of Harley Quinn. I will say, I think obviously she was clearly in here because they wanted to sell tickets, but I don't.
Yeah.
I like. There's something about her being dejected from the group for the first half of the movie.
Yeah, it's
So
sort
literally
of
coming in for the third act. It's like it feels.
yeah, yeah. I'd have rather had something else. Yeah, it would have been nice to have had something else. I don't think it was just purely shoehorned in there because, yeah, like you said, Harley Quinn puts bums on seats, and Margot Robbie's got a however many picture deal to be fulfilled.
And also, well, I think also as well, Margot Robbie is excellent as this character in general, anyway. And I think this is her best performance in terms of just getting like you said, getting the balance right. That comes down with the writing, but also comes down to her as a performance. I think she does an incredible job. But like I said, I do really appreciate the fact as well in her fight sequence, which people were saying is, oh, look at a woman get a fight sequence. It's got nothing to do with that. It's the character's just being badass. I love the fact that James Gunn, again, as a director, goes, right, we're not going to see this as reality. We're going to see this through Harley's eyes. So when she's shooting people, flowers and animals start like something out of a Disney princess film.
Well, no, there's no difference to the blood, but it's just like the backdrop to it is, yeah, hearts and flowers. So the sprays of blood sort of take on a little bit of a different appearance. But also you see her embrace that javelin that's been stowed upon her like a holy weapon.
My favourite line is when she goes outside the blood spot and he goes, "What's with the javelin?" She goes, I'm waiting for God to tell me. And he goes, "Jesus Christ." And she goes, "Yeah, or any other God." My TV just turned itself on. What the hell? There were ghosts in my room. But yeah, I think it's
great. I mean the stuff with the, because obviously in Corto Maltese, where we've gone in there's been a coup, and that's part of the reason that the team have been sent in the first place, is to like get rid of whatever weapon could be there to benefit an unstable government, which is very scarily relevant right now. Yes. You get a little bit of a setup for that, but it's just like a little bit protracted. I would have liked to have seen a bit more. This is not necessarily being biased, but Peter Capaldi's thinker, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think as well. He's sort of, I don't know why, because he doesn't come across like the thinker to me. He doesn't seem like a thinker.
Yeah, that's it. He does fall into traps rather easily for someone who's like super smart.
Who can like outthink anybody at any point and sort of every single eventuality.
The clue's in the name, dum.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know whether they were just scared and they were like just give a DC character to anybody, but he could literally have just been another bloke and it would have fit the film fine. He literally could have just been a lead scientist. He didn't have to be a thinker, and it would have been great. Yeah. It's not really. That's a mild thing though, because obviously.
Yeah, that's it. It's just personal preference. I would have liked to have seen more. I think it would be better to have a bit more of, what makes you so special.
Yeah, I really do like
shown on the screen.
I really do like the club bit though. Also, we get a nice cameo from Pom Clemente, very very briefly.
Do you know what? I didn't think she was credited, but I looked at that and I thought, I'm sure that bloody is. Yeah. So it was. I'm good. My eyes do not deceive me. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, one of the best bits of the first Suicide Squad movie was the bit where they all got in the bar, and it's like, well, let's just have a drink. Yeah, it's one of those things. Tonight we might die, so let's just have a drink, and that's where the team really start to bond more than anything else. More than like where they share, like, oh, my dad locked me in a cupboard and it was a bit horrible and everything like that. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, there's an aspect of that, but the shared experience there's a cutaway where you get Rick Flag and Bloodsport sort of like just having a drink and like slapping each other and just laughing as they're talking about something that seems like an extremely funny joke. That's something that you see when you're out with your mates having a drink.
I also
so you get that real sense of bonding there.
I also really like as well that they don't dwell on this. Like, for example, as soon as the military or whoever they are, police or whatever, they come to arrest, as they call it, the Americans, he immediately goes, yeah, I am that. And they split the gang. It's smart. I like that in the writing. They don't go to these regular traps of team gets captured. Obviously, there is a bit of that, but it's smarter than that. The whole team doesn't have to get captured. I like the fact as well.
Yeah, the catch and release thing. Yeah.
The biggest character change for me is Rick Flag, because I really did not like Rick Flag in the first movie. In this film, spoilers again, I was really sad when he died because I was like, he's probably going to be the centerpiece of every Suicide Squad movie going forward. He's going to be the one that's kind of the guy that, nope. And I think in this one, they really do make a really good case for him to just be a really stand-up guy who you think is, just someone that is devoted to Waller, but no, he's devoted to making the world a better place. And he wants, once we find out later on that it was actually America's fault that caused the Starro incident, and that's why Waller wants him to go, to destroy all evidence of the fact that
at the end of the day, he's although he has to associate with what are supposed to be the worst people in the world, he's still a man of unbindable principles and honor, and that's what it is, and that's where, I did not expect what happened, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I agree with you.
That you find out Peacemaker had a second mission.
Yeah, exactly. And it's well, again, I just really, I think this film as well, it's one of those films that does a very good job with such an ensemble cast, making you care for every individual character. And I think it's great. The one thing that also falls flat for me is the team with Amanda Waller. I think that because obviously James Gunn didn't want to spend too much time with them, when they overturn Waller, you only get like 2 or 3 scenes before that where they're like, in the first scene, they're with Waller. Second scene, they're a bit iffy. Third scene, they go against her. It's like...
I think they're all scared of her, ultimately. They are all scared of her because she's just like no-nonsense type of character. And you hear her the way she sort of F's and Jeffs and everything like that.
Yeah, she has no filter. She is prepared to do whatever it takes for the cause.
There is a bit where they do decide to go up against Starro, and she's like saying, "I'm going to kill every one of you," and she's like screaming at them, and you think, "Damn, that's one cold bitch."
Played by the amazing Viola Davis, who is incredible. Yeah. She was one of the standouts of the 2016 film as well.
That's it.
But I think, again, I also like the scene where you get Bloodsport, who has just like the trope of the cigarette in the mouth, and then he's like, you find out he doesn't smoke, so that's why it's like loosely hanging from his lips as he's doing it. And obviously he's still got the death touch, so you cannot kill a man with one touch. He goes, and they all do it,
and every 3 of them do it. Yeah.
And then you just see the car gets better. Again, I love it as well. These are the times where it's like Operation Jotunheim, and then it turns to, no, we got to do something first. It goes Operation Harley, and that's how we sort of link the 2 storylines together. It's really cool. I love the comedy of she's like, I could go back in and you could still do it, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's it. It's one of the things that I found about this movie is sometimes it would build up to a point that you said, "Oh, do you know what? Yeah, I saw that coming. This is exactly what I did." But then there was other times that there was a build up, and then it flipped the other way. So there was never sort of like, "Oh, right, I can predict everything that happens in this film."
Well, I think obviously the one thing that people did predict is that most of the people in the first bit were going to die. However, in the third act, you had no idea who was going to get off. As soon as the first person died, being the thinker, I think, apart from obviously Milton, rest in peace. That's also one of the funniest bits of the film as well, where the only person to care about this Milton character was Polka Dot Man. So when he gets killed, Harlequin and Bloodsport, like, who the fuck is Milton?
Yeah, that's it. I did sort of like, I was watching, I was thinking, hell, that bus driver's still with him. Yeah. No.
And she's like, and Bloodsport's like, why the fuck do you not stay on the bus?
Yeah.
But again, like you said, now we get that great scene from the trailer as well, where it's like, well, they've got the Thinker now in captivity, and it's like, if you fail the mission, you die, and all that kind of stuff. You get the kind of speech from the first film, but in this time said to the Thinker.
Yeah. You get your tropes. You get the slow motion walking through the rain and emerging from the mist. If you want tropes as well, there's like homages to that, because you get that as a set image on screen.
Yep.
But then one of the other things that I liked, which is something that comes a little bit later, is where you've got Bloodsport and he's on the collapsing floor and it just like goes doom and like Constantine and through all the other floors. And it's a series of superhero landing after superhero landing after superhero landing. So it does like play with.
And you watch that and they legitimately did that as well. I thought that was CGI, but no, they literally made Idris drop 3 stories. Yeah. We obviously had like Arnold on. So
I just like the way it plays with the trope.
He was like, that was the sickest moment of shooting because it made me feel like a right badass. I also have to say as well, one thing we haven't touched on is Ratcatcher 2's arc, I think is really good. And I think she, as well as, I don't like the line, I'm not going to let you die, or I'm not going to let you die, because it sort of plays to the fact that they're probably neither of them are going to die. But I thought that was a bit on the nose. But that's, again, a very minor nitpick. But I thought I really loved the scene where you get the backstory of Ratcatcher 1 and you kind of get the ethos of the Ratcatcher sort of character of, well, if rats can do something, we can all do something.
Yeah.
And I thought that, again, brilliantly delivered by Taika Waititi, who is phenomenal, whatever role you put him in. But I thought that is great. And again, the heart from James Gunn, where you now realise, because obviously Ratcatcher at the time is just, a character that you sort of go, why rats? And then you figure out, well, she feels worthless.
Yeah.
It represents her feeling and how much she's worth.
Well, ultimately, it's the strongest superpower because they always say that for every person in the world, there's like about 4 rats, 5 rats, and you're never more than a certain distance away at any point in time. Certainly on the London Underground, if you've ever been there, it's filth.
Apparently, especially in Colton Maltese as well.
Yeah.
But I think as well,
island nation are literally overrun with rats. Yeah.
I think as well another great scene is the scene where essentially they find the tapes. It's all revealed that America were behind the Starro incident, and you get that sort of back and forth between Peacemaker and Rick Flag. And again, it's not like Peacemaker's dumb. He knows that Rick Flag is doing the right thing. He's doing the moral. He knows he's doing the moral correct thing, but Peacemaker is so committed to the cause for America and for liberty that he can't drop it. He can't.
Yeah,
he just
can't and that is brutal. That fight is brutal.
Because again, they could have just made it that Peacemaker's dumb and he doesn't consider it, but no, he actually says the fact, I know what you're doing is right, but I can't stop. That I just can't. I can't do it. I have to commit to.
He's driven by the principle by which he is living his life. So he's still a Boy Scout.
Yeah.
But there's no limit to which he will not go to follow through on that premise. And
again, I love as well after I love the shot of the fight in Peacemaker's helmet, where the fight is in the reflection. I think that's a beautiful bit of direction from good old James Gunn there. I think that's possibly one of the best shots in the film. But as well, I love the fight. I think it's great, and it goes on for a few minutes. It's not a quick fight. Like it's so tense.
It gives no quarter because it is really, like I say, it's gore and it's probably the most violent section of the film, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Again, I also have to say as well, because we did skip over this, before this, essentially, the Thinker reveals Starro. You see all the Starro bots. I'll say bots, but like hosts and that sort of stuff. And that's where it leads to. And then he explains that it was America. But yeah, the Thinker's gone at this point. He got killed by Starro, essentially. But that is, again, the Thinker is probably the most underserved character in the film. But yeah, I also like as well that James Gunn sort of leads into the horror elements of this, because as soon as unfortunately Rick Flag bites the bullet, Ratcatcher 2 takes the tape and essentially is trying to run away and evade Peacemaker, and you get these kind of jump scare bits where Peacemaker's slowly going to catch up to her. She's crawling in really small gaps to try and get away. You see him grab his arm. You see the front of his gun go through the gap to try and shoot her and stuff. Yeah. And then as soon as it's about to hit the crescendo of Ratcatcher's on the floor, Peacemaker's got the gun over her, you cut to 15 minutes before and it's the other team, and you're like, oh no. And you have to wait, and it is legitimately 15 minutes. Like James Gunn makes you wait the whole time, and that's where you get, like I said, one of my favorite scenes where Nanawe thinks he's found his friends. Actually, they're not friends, and it's really heartbreaking. And you think Nanawe is dead. You think King Shark is gone, which is really sad, because again, he's probably the most, like, you just want him to find a friend, man.
By that point, you've already sort of like almost adopted him. because you just feel this like affinity of like, oh, poor King Shark.
It's like when he's when he's laughing and he sees that he's like friends. It's like, oh,
yeah, the simple things amuse him, and that makes us like him even more.
And again, I like the fact that James Gunn sort of uses the imagery from Jaws, because you just see the red mist in the water, and you think, well, in films that means shark dead. And then thankfully they get on the ground and the narwhal is not dead. He lives to fight another day. But again, like you said, you get to that moment of the crescendo. You get Bloodsport falling through the floors, and suddenly he lands on the floor with Peacemaker and Ratcatcher 2. You've got the gun step bit, and then you get the beautiful callback to the bullets. The smaller bullets go through the larger bullets. Callback.
Yeah, from when they first met. Well, I'll do smaller bullets, shoot through your bullet holes.
Yeah, and it's like. It's such good writing, and again the tension is still high because we've lost three members.
You think that's the end of it, really?
Yeah, and then you forget that, oh shit, they've got to fight Starro, and they're already 2 men down, unless you count Milton, in which he's 3 men down.
Well, that's the test of character moment that you have to have in these sort of villain hero movies, isn't it? It's sort of like, well, we could just walk away now and just that's it, us job done, thanks.
Yeah, and then obviously, like you said, you get the great bit with Amanda Waller where they're thinking about it. You get and then obviously Bloodsport decides, fuck this, I'm gonna go help, and you literally get Viola Davis screaming. And then she gets knocked out by her crew. And then as well, you just get the best bits of, like you said, Bloodsport. You get the call back of not wanting to be a leader, and him rallying the troops, making Polka Dot Man get in the fight by saying, that Starro is your mother. And he like turns into a superhero. You get the line, I'm a superhero, dead.
Well, I think that's it. By the time it's all like, he thinks he's defeated Starro, that it's he's achieved the thing he's been trying to do all his life, escape from the shadow of his mother, and that's by proxy, then that makes him a superhero. And you actually, I think that's probably, apart from the bit in the club where it's like a little bit sloshed, you see an actual genuine expression of happiness from him, and then that is just that's just like cut by him dying straight away,
instantly. So now we're down to 4 members. King Shark's still doing bits. He's still kicking. Again, I like the fact that Harley Quinn as well uses the javelin, goes through the eye of Starro, but essentially the one that saves the day is Ratcatcher 2. She calls upon the rats to save the day, and they just eat the shit out of Starro.
Well, yeah, because I think that's it. They build it up as like Bloodsport.
Rats are pointless.
Whose suit is absolutely. What they did with his mask and his suit and the way he's stylized is fantastic.
Yeah, no, totally.
Because every part of his suit like comes off and like turns into a Lego, and becomes a superb weapon in some way, shape, or form. So you think, this is it's going to take him down. No, boy, it's going to be the timid, sleepy rat catcher, and the power is inside her all along. But yeah, I think I don't know if everyone else thought it that when. You got to the end then with Starro, and you've got Harley there with the javelin. So like, right, I see which way this is gonna go. And exactly. Like I say, they do take it down a different avenue.
Yeah, and I think as well, you get the great scene where essentially Bloodsport has to like cover himself as the rats climb over him, and you get that really, really. I think the track by the composer is called Ratsism. A play on racism. You've obviously the rats, it's a great piece of track, and you just see Ratcatcher crying, and so it's probably the only grandiose moment in the whole film where, but the film has earned it at that point where it feels grand and it feels like a big moment for these characters that have come a long way since the first 20 minutes, and you sort of you feel kind of happy that they've got this moment. Starro gets defeated. You get the great line, "I was happy looking upon the stars," and the film ends. That's it. It doesn't take too long.
Well, there's a bit about what happens next for our band of ragtag unlikely heroes.
Yes, and there's like a deal struck of
so everyone, everyone has to have an end story. Yeah.
So essentially, everyone gets set free. And Bloodsport won't reveal the tape. And again, the fact as well, Harley Quinn shows a bit of emotion here because like Rick Flag died for that, and now it's become useless.
Yeah,
and Bloodsport essentially goes, no, don't worry, it will be used in the future. Like, there's no way it's not going to get released. Like, he's going to figure out a way to do it and get around it. So, and that's where our film ends. You see Bloodsport stroking Sebastian the cat, the rat, not cat, rat.
The rat, yeah, which I think is also a really clever little device, because it's like he's like an unofficial member of the team. Is he waving at? Yeah. Oh, he's waving at me. What the hell is that?
Why is he? He's trying to give you a leaf to show that he means no harm. Why the fuck would I want a leaf?
But I like that because he's like a sort of sixth member of the team that always gets forgotten about. Sebastian.
Yeah. Sebastian, yeah. And again, we get 2 post-credit scenes. One of them is a little funny gag of Weasel on the beach surviving, running off into the distance to probably kill more children. Probably. Yeah. And then the last one is the setup for the Peacemaker HBO series, where essentially somehow Peacemaker survived. I don't know how. I reckon, though, if I don't know yourself, but after watching this film, I reckon the test audiences love Peacemaker. He was originally just meant to die, and they were like, actually, we can milk this a bit more.
Yeah.
I reckon in the original script, that was actually his death. He was not.
I've no doubt about that either, to be honest with you. Like I say, John Cena oozes personality and charisma.
Charisma. Yeah.
So, yeah, it makes sense then to have him as sort of like you'll probably have something akin to maybe Batman 66 type thing, but with Peacemaker. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I'm also excited.
Like an adult Batman 66.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one because, like you said, John Cena is very charismatic. It is, most of the episodes are directed by James Gunn. It's got the HBO Max budget, which means that I don't know how it's going to be distributed here. James Gunn has said, I think on an Instagram post, that it will be distributed worldwide. They're trying to get things in place. I'm really annoyed that something like HBO Max doesn't exist in the UK, because legitimately HBO is one of the best channels there. Obviously, Warner Brothers. There's a lot of shit on there I'd actually watch. So out of the few that that are American, I'm not bothered about Paramount or Peacock. But if we can get HBO over here, I won't be too mad, because there's
that's it. There's very few avenues for us to get that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so I'm legitimately excited for the Peacemaker series as well. It looks like we're going to get those characters back as well, who were in the call center with Amanda Waller, and it looks like she will be sticking around. But Beef, in the sequel, do you think we will see any of our characters come back who managed to make it out alive in this one?
I don't know, because the thing is, it's sort of, you have to have a look at the thing as a whole sort of entity, because for the longest time it was quite likely that what's his name, Will Smith, was going to come back.
Well, what happened?
They had sort of held the door open for him, which is why you've got Bloodsport, isn't it?
I thought originally what happened, I might be wrong and you might be correct, but I thought what the original thing was is that Idris Elba was going to be a recast of Deadshot, and then they thought, no, let's change it so Will Smith can come back in the future if he wants to. But that might be wrong. You might be entirely right, and Will Smith was really much come. But no, I think as well, totally, I want to see these guys pop up in some capacity, especially King Shark, Ratcatcher.
Do you know what? I sort of don't, to a certain degree. While I like them, the ones that survived, what more development can you have to their story apart from,
death?
Yeah,
that's it. Cop it.
Yeah, you was gonna die.
Obviously, we're going to see more.
Obviously, with Rick, I didn't expect Rick Flag to die. No, I'd like one without Harley now. I think now that you've done this one, you don't need to have Harley Quinn in this movie.
I don't think she'll be in the sequel, but I think she'll be in another DC film. I don't think this.
That's fine and dandy. You do what you want, Chief. But I think if you're going to do another Suicide Squad movie, then have one without Harley in it. And I don't think you need to have any of these characters back. There's nothing to say that you can't have a brand new roster of people in it. And the premise, you already know the deal. You know what you got to do. And you know what happens if you don't follow through with the orders. And just there's a whole catalogue of people that you can have. I do think you can make, in essence, a new Suicide Squad movie every few years, and you don't have to worry about what or who you've had before.
Yeah, and then eventually after, excuse me, after 2 or 3, films, you can sort of make your super Suicide Squad group if you wanted to, and just like put 2 sets of surviving teams together and turn that into its own sort of film. I agree with you, mate. But overall, I think to wrap up this, I think this was a thoroughly enjoyable film, and I think overall it did exactly what it needed to do.
Because there's a lot of time jumps in it, and there's so much that happens. It's really hard to put together a coherent review of it, because you can probably think, well, they're talking about this, you're talking about that. Costumes, effects, sound, the jukebox aspect that James Gunn is well known for, all of that works really well. Cinematically wise, it looks really pretty. It looks really great. I think the pacing is, right on the mark. Like, the only part that trips you up is the Harley thing, because she's so out of it for the majority. It's like, well, okay, now we've got to bolt on our star power to this and fit it in somehow. You sort of can forgive it by the end, but it's sort of like, the more you think about it, the more it's a niggle in otherwise a very fine sweater.
I don't have with Harley Quinn being here. I just, out of the characters, she's the only one you go in going, well, she's not dead, she's not going to die. So like, she's too much of a character, a known element, that she's already been in the previous Suicide Squad movie. She's already been in her own solo movie, that, she's going to make it to the end. Whereas the other ones, you don't know, because the precedent was set in the first 10 minutes that anyone could die. If anything, the only people that you thought that couldn't die was Captain Boomerang, was Rick Flag, and was Harley Quinn, and you see Captain Boomerang. Yeah, well, yeah, of course, but you see, you see Captain Boomerang taken out in the first 10 minutes. The rest of them are captured, and then by the end of it, you see Rick Flag dying. It's just like, whoa, anyone could die, but except for Harley Quinn. So that's why I don't want her in the next one. No disrespect, but let Margot Robbie do as much as you like, because I think she's showing one of the smartest creators working in cinema today. So you do, I think anything she'll touch is pretty much gold dust at this point. But like I said, I it's difficult to put a coherent review. I'm going to put a thoroughly enjoyed on this one. I think it's a film at this point. If it comes onto Netflix or we do get HBO Max, I'll give it a rewatch. I'll be like, oh, actually, do you know what this film's going to be? It's not in like my top 10 superhero films, because I don't yet care for these characters enough, and also it's not going for that. It's just going for a safe home run of a superhero film that is enjoyable, and you're going to sit back and go, "That was a good time. That was a good time."
It's a fun 2 hours. There's enough pace in it that you're never going to say, "Oh God, just get on with it." And it's just like a little fun ride.
I think this is
you don't need to you don't need to have anything too serious with it, because DC up until this point has been very heavily laden with feelings, I don't care about feelings.
Feelings are overrated, as Beef would say.
Yeah, that's it. Just have fun, enjoy your life, and that's what this film does. So like you say, rated highly enjoyable.
But I also think as well, this is going to be heavily in contrast to the Batman film coming out later. I don't know when it is now. The world's upside down. Films are still rattling through that should have come out last year. So dates are a bit all over the show.
That's it. It's just going to be Jeffrey Wright sounding really angry.
But I'm heavily excited for that one as well. But yeah, Beef, thank you so much for hopping on to this an extra podcast that was sort of planned last minute. So cheers for popping on. And it's been fun.
That's cool, man.
You can follow the podcast at the Thomas Pod on Twitter. You can there's a link tree always in the description and in the bio on Twitter to check out all of the platforms that I am on. And you can also follow me on Twitter personally. That's King_Don. But I will be honest, most of it at the minute is just football and wrestling tweets. So if you're not really interested in that, don't really bother. You can also follow Beef at the Beefheads for occasional tweets of wisdom, I will say.
Or you could not follow me. If I find you on the street following me, we'll be having words.
Yes. He will take you out. First of all, he will have kebab in hand, and he will.
I will admonish you in a public place.
Yes, absolutely. But everyone, take care. We're back next week with the review of The Idiot's Land as well. This Friday, there is a Drunk Watch on When You Fall Some Horses being released. And then Beef will be back very, very soon with a review of Avengers Infinity War with a bunch of us. So Beef will be...
that's it. Away. Yeah. So like I say, for an episode 69, this was certainly not filled with any form of innuendo whatsoever.
No, we were very mature about it. Apart from that one time where you mentioned there was something to do with the Harlequin thing, where you said some sexual innuendo. So there was one.
Well, what can I say? 69 is a game of two halves.
Goodbye.